I'm super honored to welcome also our virtual host today, Neil Pixon. Sorry for that. Neil, I'm very honored to have you on, and congrats, by the way, to your new role. I've just heard about that.
Thanks.
Neil is a SAP analytics consultant. Also, welcome to you guys. Sorry for missing out on that.
Also from me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like to hand it over to you, Neil, to fire some questions on those Data Warehouse Cloud experts.
Yes. Thank you, Max and Nina. I'm your host today, taking through the SAP Data Warehouse Cloud in a live environment session. And it's a great honor to be with Interdobs today. Let's get know Interdobs. They have a newly implemented Data Warehouse Cloud project, and I would like to get know them more. So, Ronald, tell us more about the Interdobs. Who is Interdobs? And who is your client? What is the background of this project? Can you share the details?
Sure, Neil. Thanks. So Interdobs is a very small consulting company in Den Bosch in the Netherlands. So we are actually near the SAP office. We are only 30 people and we do SAP BI and SAP BI only. We have been doing that for close to 16 years now. And that basically means that we do SAC, lots of SAP Analytics Cloud, BW, HANA native work, and also a Data Warehouse Cloud. And we have done that at our client IGM. And the story today goes about IGM. So who's IGM? IGM is a mid-sized chemical company. And this company is in the middle of a rollout of S/4HANA public cloud. They have a ton of legacy ERP systems, so running Navision and Asian systems and you name it. They also had SQL databases, they had data in Click, data all over the place, and basically what we needed was a way to combine and consolidate all that data. So we had to combine the legacy data coming from systems with S/4HANA public cloud data, and we were using the CDS views and OData for that. So what we, in the beginning of the project, did somewhere in January is we took a look at SAC, but we realized, let's say, that we needed more modeling power and also a way of storing all those different data sources. And the reason for that is, for instance, because we are creating one customer and one material, stuff we do in data warehousing, combining and harmonizing data. We needed a tool for that. And S/4HANA public cloud is used by IGM. They have a cloud strategy. So DWC, Data Warehouse Cloud, was actually a perfect candidate. And we are very happy that indeed we are live since a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's basically IGM and our project.
Sounds cool. Good job. Congratulations, guys. And how is the data warehouse cloud used in the BI landscape?
Yeah, so like Ronald said, we have Data Warehouse Cloud. It's basically the heart of the BI stack. We have around 100 users now, and that's for a relatively small company. So it's quite widely used, basically. The question was at the beginning of the project, how are we going to set it up? Because we have multiple source systems. It's either S/4HANA Cloud, we have Aggresso and the systems in China, Brazil, and of course we have a lot of flat files. So what we did is we have OData connections towards S/4HANA Cloud, and we also get flat files, and those flat files are pushed into the HANA database that's sitting underneath Data Warehouse Cloud through CPI data services. We then consume this data via decoupling views into an acquisition layer, and we use these decoupling views to cater for the fact that you always have changes in your flat files or in your OData services. What you don't want is that on the moment something changes in your source system, that all of a sudden your whole model crashes. And in our case, that would crash multiple dashboards as well. So it's it's built in there for the flexibility and to be able to always pick up the latest changes, basically. On top of the acquisition layer, we have a business logic layer. And this is where we do what is my favorite topic, the SQL complexity. Although IGM is a very small company, they have bought several competitors in the past, and so they all have different systems. And what you want is harmonized data sets, what Ronald explained. So what we do, for example, is through using multiple mapping files, we go from, I think, 6 or 7 systems to one customer, the customer that is in S/4HANA Cloud. So we're all mapping that to one customer so that the business at the end can recognize what that customer is. The mapping files can be updated by the customer themselves. So basically, all we did is set up the SQL logic, and now everything is flowing through it. And that ends up in a reporting layer that, again, is built on decoupling views. Because we only have one schema at this moment in Data Warehouse Cloud. That's the way we set it up in the beginning. And Xavier built kind of nice dashboards on that. And Xavier doesn't like it when I break his dashboards because I'm working on the data set. Sometimes it happens. But what we try to do is we try with those decoupling views, we try to stabilize basically everything. And the report layer is also acting up as a semantic layer. So there's where we actually go from a currency, we set units of measures to measures, etc. We give key and text to SAC, and then Xavier can build his dashboards.
All right. Once data is prepared, and how is it then visualized? How did you create all those dashboards? And is it only done within the embedded SAP Analytics Cloud of Data Warehouse Cloud?
Yeah, let's talk a bit about reporting here. Because one of the cool things about Data Warehouse Cloud is that it comes with an embedded version of SAC. So we get all the reporting capabilities that we know from the SAP Analytics Cloud, but it's integrated within Data Warehouse Cloud itself. And we don't have to set up connections, set up an environment. We can reuse all the user accounts that are already created for Data Warehouse Cloud. So it's really a super fast start into reporting when we have a Data Warehouse Cloud project. What's also really nice is that it's giving us the opportunity to have very fast and iterative way of developing. For example, if Tim adds a field to one of the Data Warehouse Cloud views, then we can almost immediately pick up that field on the SAC side and continue the report building on top of that. So that is a system that's very handy and very fast in developing cool dashboards for the users. So what we did, we built a bunch of dashboards in a very short time. The concept of the dashboard is pretty much a classical BI dashboard. So we have a lot of high-level KPIs that we show and a couple of visualizations. We have some filters on that, a bit of interactivity between the pages and the widgets that we show. And what we always do in these kinds of dashboards is add a page that we call then the Explorer, where you put on a very simple table. But importantly, we enable the Explore functionality that SAC has. And with that, we give the option to the users to dive into the data behind a chart or behind a table. And then they basically end up in the Data Warehouse Cloud view that Tim has prepared on the Data Warehouse Cloud side. And they can make use of all the fields that are available in there. So they can use drag and drop and put in filters and create their own tables and charts. And they can do all of that within the Explorer functionality of SAC. And for us as a development team, the only thing that we have to do is enable this Explorer by checking the check mark. And then we get all this functionality out of the box for all the end users. So that's a really cool feature that we always include in the dashboards that we are building. Another nice feature that we are using is the SAC catalog. It's also quite new in the world of SAC. So that's basically an entry page that we have for end users to get to their reports. So instead of asking them to browse the whole SAC platform and find the report, they just get a launch page with a couple of tiles on it that also give a bit of context about what they are about to see in their reports. So that's a catalog. That's also something we use quite a lot. So that's all related to the embedded SAC in Data Warehouse Cloud. Next to that, we actually also have a standalone SAP Analytics Cloud environment, and we use that purely for planning, at least at the moment. So what we do is we export data from Data Warehouse Cloud, which we import then again in a planning model in that standalone SAC tenant. We also build a couple of stories on top of that model, and the planners, well, they can review the results from the past and they can make adjustments to the planning for the future periods. So that's another scenario that we are also fetching a bit in this whole project. Eventually, I think we want to go back to just a single SAC environment in the end. Technically, that's already possible. So I believe since last summer, there is an option to use a live Data Warehouse Cloud connection from within SAC, so also from within the SAC standalone tenants. And that means that we can connect to any Data Warehouse Cloud environment there is. Just like we would now connect to an SAP HANA or an SAP BW source. Only then it's going to be SAP Data Warehouse Cloud. But that's something probably for next year. For now, yeah, we're pretty happy with this setup with reporting on top of Data Warehouse Cloud.
Sounds really cool, guys, really cool. And I would like to ask, what is the key takeaway points from this implementation? And you shared an amazing success story, but how was the customer feedbacks, and are they all satisfied?
That's a good question, because in the end, that's what really counts, right? So they are very happy, and as a result, we are also very happy as an implementation partner. Of course, it was quite a journey, because it was one of the first, maybe even the first DWC implementation in Europe. And the beginning of the project, we had some challenges, of course, because it was a brand new project. Especially during that implementation phase, we saw that the product was getting more and more stable, and also the client was getting more, let's say, I wanted to say stable, that was not the correct word, but he was more, let's say, it was easier for them also to determine the specifications which were required. So the mapping tables and what mapping requirements they had. So yeah, customer was very happy. In terms of, let's say, the best practices or the key takeaway points, I think one of the important key takeaway points is don't underestimate the effort you actually have to do in S/4HANA in order to combine CDS views. So as Tim mentioned, we use CDS views and the OData services on top of that in order to feed the data warehouse and to find out which DWC or which CDS view you require and what data you need to combine. That's actually quite a challenge. From a technical perspective, that's not even that difficult, but it's more difficult to find the right CDS views. Unfortunately, we already have done quite a number of CDS view implementations, so we now know, basically we have an own library of DWC or CDS views, so we know which ones to use. But that's really something you need to know and understand when you start a project with data warehouse in combination with S/4HANA. I think the second thing is that you need a strong architecture. So like Tim mentioned, we're doing tons and tons of mapping. So we have lots of complex SQL views. And in order to be able to do that, you need basically an architecture like you would have in BW for HANA. I mean, there you also have sometimes still an acquisition layer or a propagation layer, and then you virtually build up the data. There's no difference when you're running DWC, especially in the case of IGM, because they are running it as a full-blown data warehouse. So that means that you have to think about these SQL decouple views Tim was referring to, and also how do I make it stable enough so that it don't break the dashboards. Basically, that's also a very important part. But in the end of the day, IGM again is very happy. They have one single reporting source. They can globally report sales data as well as stock data. So they're extremely happy with that. They can also report out of Excel. They are using an ODBC connection. And that's one of the feedback points for SAP is that they really need to fix the AFO connection to DWC because that is still lagging behind a bit. And we are hoping that in the next coming weeks we can actually use analysis for office in combination with DWC models. That will be very good. That will be very cool because then you can actually also use the Excel plugin. So that is something which is high on our Christmas wish list, let's say.
All right, last question. For the developers are looking, what are the most important skills that you need to start looking with Data Warehouse Cloud?
SQL, I guess, right, guys?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, next to a skill set, I think it's also handy to have some friends in Germany because we had some hurdles, as we said in the beginning of this project, and actually I was really amazed by the amount of help that we got from Waldorf, helping us out, keeping us in the loop on how things are going to be developed in the upcoming weeks, upcoming months. We actually had some feature requests that were taken into account and that were delivered quite fast. So yeah, a big thanks to them as well, because they definitely helped us making this project a success.
It sounds really great, and congratulations, Guy. I would like to announce you as a tough guys, because being in the first developing in Europe, this kind of wide range project is a tough thing. Congratulations all, and thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neil, for taking the lead here, and also thank you, Fox, for giving us some very technical details. I was very much looking forward to that. That's what makes TechEd so special.
You're welcome, Max.
You're welcome.